Hi everyone. Hope you're joining me tonight. We're doing a little bit of a short little live teaser to show you how to do the nest that you've seen on the page. And I just wanted to let you know, give you a little teaser as to what it's like to be in the FELTit experience and get videos each month. For those of you in the FELTit experience, I will be filming the Hearts 3 Ways later this week, and that was what last Wednesday night's quick little tutorial was, how to finish one of those FELTit projects by doing the kind heart badge. The next video that I'll be making is going to be a nest and bird and eggs, and you've seen the photo on the site, and I want to show you how we created that nest because I really like the way it turned out, and doing the little part of the nest is just sort of an extra little something because it doesn't take an awful lot of felting, but I wanted to come to you today and show you what that looked like. So bear with me. I'm gonna flip the camera around and make sure that we are live here on Facebook because I want to make sure I can see what's going on. I'm scrolling down, and where are we at? There we are. Okay, we are indeed live, and I'm going to get that started and mute that. And okay, we're ready to go. Let me flip the camera and we'll get started. We're going to make the nest. Okay, so this is the nest that I'm talking about. I'll take out the eggs, and it's just a loosely woven and lightly felted piece. I want to make sure that the camera's getting everything here. And I think we're okay. Yes, we are okay. So you can see this is lumpy and bumpy. It looks pretty realistic. And the reason that it looks pretty realistic is because this is a very loose spun, unplied rug yarn that I've used for this. So it gives it more of a natural feel to things, and it doesn't look so perfectly put together, but it definitely gives you the feeling of a real bird's nest. So I'm going to show you how we've used this rug yarn, and this is just something that was, I can't remember if it was gifted to me, if it was in a swap at a local fiber group or what, but I ended up with a few balls of this, and it's been languishing in the studio without a purpose. This is the perfect place to use it. So I took about 4 yards of this rug yarn, and I'm just going to start out by felting a little bit of a center together so that we've got something to wrap around. And I hope the camera is seeing me okay, and I hope you're seeing me okay. Again, this is loosely felted. Most of what we're doing with the felt is just reinforcing the little bit of weaving that I do to get this piece to start out. So I just hope you can see my hand okay without my hand being in the way too much. And then I've just gone side to side. Now I'm just flattening it out. And then it's just a matter of wrapping more around and building up a little bit of a base before we do the little trick that I used to give us a framework for weaving the sides. And it really was just something organic that I did. I just played with it to see what would happen if I did X. And I just want to make sure we've got a nice base here. I'm going to do a little bit more felting, and I'm going to come in sideways to get those extra layers to connect to one another, even overlapping just a little bit so that I can get in here and get those layers to connect. Now always, always, always know where your non-stabbing hand is. You can see that I'm using the V between my front two fingers to sort of hold things in place, and the needle is stabbing into the V itself, okay? So we don't want you to be dangerous with the needles. We want you to be safe always. They are sharp and they will draw blood. Don't share your needles. No sharing needles. And again, just maneuvering around so that I can get those extra rows that I circled around that very lightly felted base to sort of hold together. And I'm not worrying too much about what the shape of this nest looks like. I think as long as we've got a nice little bowl shape for the eggs, we're gonna be good to go. And now I've gone all the way around. I am gonna make this a little easier on my hands by moving these extra needles out of the way. In case you're wondering, yes, this is something that you can do in case the needle feels a little uncomfortable in your hand. You can felt a small little ball of wool so that you've got a little bit more to hang on to than just the needle itself. You can just slide your needle right in. You can put multiple needles in here, but they're not as sturdy as a traditional multiple needle tool. So I want to make sure that you can see this. It's just a lightly medium felted ball, and I've just stabbed a needle through it. So if you needed a little extra to hold on to make your hands more comfortable, you certainly have that available, okay? But I'm not using that right now. I'm just using the single needle. I'm gonna flip this over a little bit. And I want to just start making loops. And the loops that I'm gonna make are gonna go around. That's not the way I want that to go. I want it to go around like this. And I wanna overlap it on the base so that I can attach each of the loops here to the base. And you see just where the fibers, where the yarn went around, I'm just tacking that down and into the base of the circle that we've already made. And then we're gonna make another loop. And we're just gonna overlap this again too. About the same length, you know, coming out to the side. And then once again, we are stabbing it right into the base. Remember, V-shaped fingers again. This is a helpful way to hold things when you've got to get your fingers close. And I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of light over here with a lamp so that we've got a little bit more light on the subject. That may help you guys see just a little bit better. And again, just reinforcing these connection pieces. And we're gonna go with another loop. And I'm sure you've noticed that I'm having a little bit of trouble with the loops going the direction I want. It's because it hasn't been plied, it's not balanced. So it still has that twist or that spin in it. And so I have to work with it a little bit, do a little bit of unspinning to get that to open up the way I want it to. I'm just gonna slide things around and we're gonna keep building our loops. There's another loop. And again, at the connection. Trying to maneuver to make sure you guys can see this. And another loop. You could certainly take and cut the rug yarn into lengths and do a traditional weave. That would be another way that you could do your basket. Would work just fine. This is just how I put together my little nest, and I thought it worked out really well. Fairly easygoing on the felting and not too technical when it came to how I wove things together, because there is a little bit of weaving involved. Not a lot, just a little. And we've got another loop here. Again, making sure we've got it connected to the base. You notice that I'm moving my block and not worrying about moving the base of fiber quite yet. I just want to make sure I get all of the loops on here before I start fiddling around. The other thing I want to make sure of is that I have an odd number of loops. When I did the basket, I had an even number of loops, so I had to do a little bit of jumping in the weaving or going over two different bits of threads so that I could get the weaving to take place. If you've got an odd number, it's going to be easier because it'll just continue around. And if I'm wrong, it's going to show me here when I start weaving. But hey, we just like to keep it real here at Anna Walker Designs and the FELTit Experience. It's all about keeping it real, being authentic. If you've noticed my personal page, you've noticed that I've been posting some stories every day, or almost every day. And that's because I've started a challenge called the Story Athlete Challenge. It's about finding my heroic self, really. And I've done a number of courses, a number of, books that, I've tried to implement into my life. I've done, Bible studies and all, basic, different kinds of training. I've done a lot of stuff over the past year and a half, 2 years in particular, in trying to figure out how I'm going to become who I'm meant to be. And the one thing, if any of you know me, that you know to be true about me is I believe that we are all created to create. And because we're all created to create, and because I found this felting passion, and because part of the absolute joy that I get from this felting passion is teaching other people the joy of this felting passion, I know that I'm called to help people find out how they're going to create as well. And that's why I've put together my, see, even bent needles happen to me. I'm not paying attention and I got a bent needle. But I know that part of me creating and me being at FELTit and me being, Anna Walker Designs is that I'm here to help people find their inner creativity through felting. And I know that everyone can try this. Felting's not going to be for everyone, but I think everyone should try it because I know that there is great and wonderful joy that can be had with this particular medium that I've found. I mean, it was a joy to find, and it's not something that I went looking for. But it's something that has brought me so much joy and so much inspiration throughout the years, and it's kept me going. It's just kept me going. And so I know that somewhere out there are people who need this as much as I needed it and didn't even know that I needed it, but thankfully, pardon me, thankfully I found how I'm supposed to do this. And I found this through happenstance, maybe, through luck, maybe, through a friend encouraging me to sign up for this online giveaway that I won and that gave me this beautiful 4-ounce hand-painted roving in 2008, absolutely. But where it's gone from there has been divine intervention as far as I'm concerned. Felting has been the thing that made everything else make sense for me. I've told this often in my classes that when I discovered felting, everything else that I had done all of my life, the stitching, the crocheting, the love of fiber, all of that stuff suddenly came into sharp focus because I figured out where I'm supposed to be. Now, what I'm doing from here on in is a simple weave to build up our nest, and it's just in and out and in and out and in and out, and I may tuck some threads in between here in a moment just to keep going and keep this weaving going in and out and in and out. But it's just a simple little basket. That's all it is. Simple little basket. See, we went in front of that one, so we go behind this one. It gets fiddly, but that's okay. We don't mind fiddly. We can do fiddly. We can do hard things. Right, Gail? And that one went behind. And that one goes in front. And this one behind. This one in front. This one behind. And now I'm going to start gathering in the loops themselves. But I want to straighten out the rest of this. I've got my tail here, and I'm going to start jumping in one and then out of another, and then in one, and out of another, going all the way around. And I'm going to use up the rest of the yarn this way. Some of our bits have fallen down, which is why we're doing the in and out thing, because we want them all to sort of stand up on the sides. And it's just a way. And my fiddling has not got me right where I need to be, so let me take a minute and see if I've got us in position again. This is tricky when you're on your own doing this. It really is. And then that one goes in. I want to make sure that you can see this. Maybe I should have done the eggs, but I'd have to fiddle with this at one point in time or another anyway, so it's all good. It's all good. Goes in, this one's going to come out this way. I am not a weaver, I'm a felter. Just remember that. And that was for my friends who do weave. Try not to judge me too hard here. And you can see how loosely spun this wool is, but it works perfectly for our, purposes here, because, the birds are doing the best they can with the supplies that they find, and we're doing the exact same thing. Where is that other loop? There it is. Let's go through here. We're getting toward the end of this length of fiber, and then I'll show you how we're going to felt this a little bit with the needle to be able to hold things in place. And I know it looks like a mess right now, and it is a little bit of a mess, and it gets really fiddly to mess with, but you know what? It's going to make a really cute nest, and it's going to look pretty awesome and look pretty natural too. I mean, nests are usually made up with, assorted twigs, little bits of fiber that the bird finds, all of that good stuff. And we're kind of doing the same thing with this rug yarn that I was gifted. However, I happen to be gifted it. I don't actually recall, to be honest with you. I've had it for that long. It's hard to remember where you get things sometimes. And we're just going to do this in and out until I get to the very end of the thread. And then we'll start with a little bit of felting. And you see we're getting that nest shape here. This is a rather deep nest. That's okay. And it's just a matter of weaving in and out until we get to the end. We've got about another yard to go. Just doing this simple in and out weaving, making sure we're catching in all the loops all along the way, because some of them like to fall down a little bit. Goes in. And you might lose some tufts of fiber if you're using a rug yarn like I'm using, but that's okay too, because we can needle felt those in without a problem. Where's our next loop? Almost to the end. The nice thing about this project is that we don't have to worry about binding it off, because we will be just felting the ends in without any trouble at all. And if you lose your place, just look at where the yarn came out of the loop the last time and go the opposite direction. All right, so we've got about a foot left here, and what I'm going to do is start wrapping just loops around the top, and that'll give us sort of a finished edge and give me the opportunity to sort of grab each of those loops and pull them in to a finished edge, which will make it a little easier for those bits to fall together in a nest-like way. And I'm just giving little stretches every once in a while. And we lost a little piece of our roving there. That's not a problem. We'll just tuck that in there. And then we'll keep looping around. That'll be an easy thing to just needle felt into place. And I love this rug yarn because it's got that I don't know, rustic, unsophisticated, raw kind of look to it, which is perfect for a nest. And this nest is a little bit bigger than the example that I made up and took the picture with the other day. And it's a little lumpy and bumpy, but again, you know, they're all kind of unique pieces, and there's no right or wrong way to this. If you've got an idea for something, a different way to try and put together your nest, absolutely go for it. Okay, so we have a little bit of a baskety kind of nest, and now what I want to do is just take the needle, and we're going to go along the edges. I'm going to try and lay it as flat as possible so that we can just do some general needle felting just to kind of hold that weaving in place. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We're just wanting to get those fibers to connect a little bit in between each of those wraps and each of those layers. And if we think that it's a little bit too out there, we can come in, again, V-shape on the fingers. We can come in from the top and encourage those sides to connect from top to bottom. And then just twist it a little, turn it a little bit, and work on the next area. And again, we're just connecting in as many places as we can so that we don't have to worry about the nest falling apart. The color of this rug yarn is great, and the fact that it has a fair amount of veggie matter, or little bits of grasses that were missed in the cleaning and processing, I think that just adds even more to the look of the nest. And I like the way that it turns out using this rug yarn. If you don't have rug yarn, don't worry. I mean, maybe you want to crochet your nest. Maybe you want to just go find whatever, you know, fibers you can in your yard and create a more authentic nest. Go for it. This is about you and how you want to put this project together. And we just turned again, and now we're connecting again in different areas. And just remember Anna's rules of needle felting. There are only 3. They're easy to remember. Always know where your non-stabbing hand is. That's an important one because you don't want to draw any blood and you don't want to hurt yourself. The other one is use your elbow as much as you can. Keep your wrist as straight as possible. If you can rest your elbow on the table, that helps. Your elbow is made to work like this so that you can do this pouncing motion with the needle. And the third rule is really pretty simple. Always come out of the fiber the same direction you go into the fiber. If you go into the fiber one direction, change your mind, move, you'll bend your needle or break it off like I did earlier. See? It just gives you a lot more control if you remember to come out of the fiber the same direction you go into the fiber. I'm just going to flip it around a little bit more and get this last little area here. You can come at it from different angles. You can see that I'm sort of coming at the nest from a sideways motion right now. And I'm going into the fiber the same direction that I'm coming out of the fiber. So I'm not worrying about that needle being caught in the foam or in the nest somewhere and, you know, catching and then either bending or breaking, which will happen if you change directions. It's one of the issues that I have when I'm using my felting machine. I've got a 5-needle felting machine that I'll use for flat projects if I'm embellishing a piece of clothing or if I'm working on adding some details to a scarf, you know, things like that. I'll use the machine, but I have to remind myself each time I use it, this is not like a sewing machine. When you go fast, you need to move your hands slowly because if you don't, then you're changing the direction that needle was coming out of the fiber and you're gonna break needles. And I break needles. So we've got our nest here. The bottom is a little loose. For our purposes, it's not a big deal, but we can come in here in the center and we can certainly shore that up. And if you had extra fiber, you could certainly put some loose fiber in here. If you wanted to, you could always cut a base, circle or oval of wool felt or a leftover felted sweater or a piece of wool fabric of some sort, and you could use that as your base before you start building your nest. There are a number of different ways you can do it. And I am kind of happy with what we've got here. I want to come at it from the side on the outside and see if I can do just a little bit more attaching here. I've got a couple of loops that are pretty high up and they're poking out a fair amount, and I just want to make sure that I've got everything as secure as I can so that when I get the eggs and the bird for this nest, it'll hold together nicely and I won't have to worry about it being pulled apart necessarily if one of my grandkids gets a hold of it, which can happen. Those of you that have cats, they might enjoy messing with your felted sculptures, so you'll have to worry about, you know, keeping them protected. And the wool, especially if you're using some of this, you know, rather unprocessed wool yarn or roving, and it's got, you know, veggie matter in it maybe a little bit, or it's still, you know, smells like sheep a lot, your critters might, you know, your cats and dogs might be interested in messing around with it. So it's just a matter of doing what you need to do to protect the investment of time and energy that you've made in creating your sculpture. I'm happy with this, and I think that we have a nest. Now, it is quite a lot bigger. If you look at them side by side, it is quite a lot bigger than the nest that I did earlier, and it's a little looser. I processed and felted the first one a fair amount more than I did this one, but I like them both for different reasons, and I would use them both absolutely for different types of birds. I put together, 3 little blue eggs for this small one, which I think works out real well. But honestly, I think that the eggs would work out well in this nest as well. It's just what kind of view are you wanting to have, and what are you actually going to put in it? Are you going to put eggs in it? Are you going to just have a little display that maybe it's got, some toadstools hanging in it? Maybe it's just going to be filled with some felted rocks. Who knows? There are a number of different things you can do with this, but our nest is complete and we are ready to say goodnight for now. I hope to be live with you next week. I'll be in Iowa, so I'll have to bring a project along with me, but I'll let you know via email if you've left your email at stabthingsintoexistence.com. When you do that, you get insider information. You get information on when I'm going to go live on Facebook. You also get information on any events that are coming up before anyone else does. And as an insider, you'll get some wonderful little opportunities that the general public doesn't get when I decide to open up the FELTit membership again for new members. So please go to stabthingsintoexistence.com. Subscribe. You'll get the weekly newsletter, which is a short blog post, really. Lets you know what I'm working on, lets you know what classes are coming up, and send you some pictures. And if you get your email in within the next 2 weeks, you'll be getting some insider highlights to my trip to Scotland, where I'll be going 2 weeks from tomorrow. So thanks for coming and being with me tonight as we made our little nest, and I hope to see you soon. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.